Okay, I am so excited to be here interviewing for C Word Magazine, the founders of the Female Film Club, Liza and Nicole. Welcome!
Hey.
Oh my gosh. I I'm so thrilled to be here and I love what you're doing. And I thought we could just start with your backgrounds for people who may not know who you are. I love your story, and I'm sure you could tell it a little bit better than me. And Nicole, I know that you have a background in human rights, right? Like, could you tell us a little bit
Yes.
about that and how this evolved with Liza? And yeah.
Yeah, so my background's actually, well, I have a BA in anthropology and sociology. I'm originally from Israel, and then I came to London to study. And I was really interested in society and culture and why we are the way we are, which then led me to working in academia, actually. And then I worked in this incredible law department and where I met my human rights mentor, which is an amazing lady called Geraldine Van Buren, which has done some incredible work on children's rights. And then I was like, I really want to know the law more because this is such a fascinating area. So then I decided to do another MA in human rights. And then in human rights, I thought this is so fascinating. But what I saw, there was so much kind of like talking about policy and change and so much talk and mainly talking to the converted. So you're not really changing much. And I was like, I really want to make a difference and I want to create change. And I was very fascinated my whole life with the film industry. And I mean, I loved watching movies and I always thought this is an industry I really see myself working in. I was really lucky to have a friend who was directing a feature film, which was a Ugandan British production. And I said, look, I really want to come on board as a producer. And my offer was accepted. And that was me getting into the film industry and just seeing what an incredible platform this was to actually tell stories that have been untold, to make a difference, and to get like millions and millions of people watching it and coming out of a cinema, a screening, or even from watching something at home and saying, actually, like that changed something. Either it's like aha moment or just really like I want to do something and I want to become more of an activist because of what I've just seen. And then with Liza, we actually met in the beginning of my journey. So I didn't know many people in the film industry. And I was like, okay, I'm going to the BFI Film Festival to network because I'm working on this feature film and I don't know many people. So we actually met in the very beginning at one of the first parties that I went to. And I heard Liza speaking to someone, or Liza heard me speaking to someone. And I said where I lived in London. And then she was like, oh my God, I live like down the road from you, which is the most uncommon thing in this city. And then we were like, no way. And that was kind of that. And then you're chatting to loads of people, networking. And then on a day-to-day basis, I'd go to the gym and, she's Dutch and I'd see her like riding her bicycle. And I was like, hey girl, like you're riding your bicycle. We should meet, for a coffee or something. And let's just have a chat. And then we met. It was so organic. We were like, you know what, let's make a movie together. And I said, I have a great location, which is actually my rooftop in my place. She was like, amazing. So like everything just moved so fast. And we made this short film together, which we like loved making. And we really synced while we were doing it. And like we decided we want an 80% female crew and that was just kind of like our thing and we managed to get that. We got the money in place, we co-wrote the script and it was the most joyful project that just came to light. It did really well in the festival circuit and then we thought actually we like really work well together. And then we both kind of worked on different projects. I continued with human rights and also film, and then of course the pandemic. And
Wow.
maybe Liza can tell the rest because I've just been giving the whole like beginning of the story. So maybe I
Let's
can
hear
let
it.
Liza's continuation of the story. And that's what actually led to us forming the Female Film Club as we know it, our own connection with each other. Both of us maybe not knowing as many people, finding that connection, creating something from zero together. And then yes, wanting to bring that to so many more women out there and loving the idea of a community. But I'll let Liza continue the story. That's me.
Oh, thank you, Liza. Let's hear the rest of
Yeah.
the story.
I mean, I love that. So that's kind of where Nicole's story telling ends. Is like the start of the pandemic, and both of us were working in the film industry. And there was this moment where everything was cancelled and we didn't know what was going on. I myself was attached as a producer on a UK Finnish production. I'm just going to be filmed in Finland, but of course I couldn't travel there. So I was completely out of the production, out of nowhere. I was working as an actress at the time as well. And of course, productions couldn't be filming. So it was really this thing of, okay, how, because both of us, we like to get things done. And we're like, we're not going to just sit around and wait for someone to give us the answer. So we're like, okay, what can we do? And we sat together. And I think it was one of the last days that we sat together before the lockdown. And we started to bounce ideas. And Nicole suddenly came up with like, how about a film club? And we're like, oh, that's great. And I just finished my research into flawed female characters. So lots of feminism and of course Nicole with her human rights. It just bounded together perfectly into creating then a female film club.
Okay.
So that's kind of where it started. Then the lockdown happened. So we could only, even though we lived down the road, we could only communicate through phone calls and online Zooms. So we literally built it for months and months from online. And every now and then, if someone was down, we would go up to each other's door, ring the bell, drop like a bouquet of flowers or a bottle of wine, and run away with our mask and our gloves and everything. And that's kind of how it started, really small as just a film club on Zoom, worldwide, where all the women that we knew in the industry that suddenly felt lost and alone could join in and find a connection. So we would find these brilliant films made by female directors that we didn't know, and we started to discuss them and solidify our voice. And then we really started to work on our mindset, because especially in that pandemic, of course, we started to realize how important mindset work is, and resilience, and the power of coming together and masterminding. So then it started to grow, because we've always been responding to what do the people need. So we kept having our group growing and growing. I think we started with like maybe 4 friends, and now we have a community for around 400 members worldwide from over 40 different countries. And we've always been responding to what their need is. So at the moment, we are having film discussions, of course. We are promoting films. We work with brilliant distribution, smaller distribution companies, to major studios like Universal, and Disney and the names like that, because we really want to work from the ground up. And then we do a lot of mindset work. So every month we have a focus from, how do you get resilient, to how do you network yourself, to, all these things that are so pivotal in a career. Whether you're an actor or a writer or a director, you're all going to need these kind of tools of mindset. So every month we build on that, together with the films that we get for inspiration, together that you actually get to meet the filmmakers and learn from the best. That's what the film club is, as we've shaped it now.
Oh my gosh, this is really inspiring.
I just want to go
I
back to one point that Liza said before, when we had the idea of the Female Film Club. Another thing that really prompted it, the actual name was, and you have to imagine we're like in 2020, and like it's never been hashtagged, it's never been used, like it's never been, the domain existed, like no one's ever used that name. We're like, there's no way that in 2020, like Female Film Club has never been used anywhere on Google. We're like, this is the sign, it's ours, So
yeah. Oh my gosh. I love when you find those signs, because I first of all, it's just exciting that you are the first female film club. You bought the domain. This is the first one that we all publicly know about on the web, right? That's amazing. I have a couple questions. I'm wondering about your speakers, because you are the female film club. Do you include speakers of all, backgrounds, gender? You're learning from the best. That's what you said. So, how does that synthesize into the female experience? Do you notice any ideas or yeah?
so much, because it's like, that's exactly, it's not just learning from the best, it's being inspired by the best. I think the one thing is that even we, as we hold these Q&As or these interviews, we're constantly inspired by what we hear, because you hear these incredible, creative, talented women, and you just listen to their own journey and what they've been through and how they've achieved what they've achieved. And nothing is linear in life, as we know. And it's so important to hear it in an intimate setting where you can actually experience the energy, listen to the story, and ask your own questions as well. Because we have so many women members in the club that are like, it's not an easy industry to be a woman in, like no other industry, and especially the creative industry. And sometimes you just want to give up. And it's like, it's happened to us, it's happened to other women. When you hear these stories and you see these films, like the film that we have screened this week, which is, we'll tell you more in a second, you just get so inspired, and you see like a change in them, and a motivation to another level to actually know, like, I'm staying, I'm not dropping this, like my story is too important and it needs to be told.
Amazing. I just love that there's a platform like this to help lift up one another as women. And I wanted to ask, since you launched this during the mid-pandemic, really, you know, taking bottles of wine to the doorstep, like I just love that story. And it's so sweet. What do you notice has developed since the pandemic as far as growing the group? And what is unique to what's uniquely coming out of this? Like business partnerships, like what do you see flourishing beyond confidence and mindset?
Yeah, so that's been really interesting because, of course, we started with filling a need of the pandemic of we're lonely and we need to go forward and we need to grow as filmmakers in a time where there is no film industry. So that was where we started, and we've always, and I think that's the joy of the collaboration that Nicole and I